Hey everyone. Sorry, I know this is a little bit later than grading IAs and have a monumental headache, but for the most part, they're looking good. So you guys are good. All right, let's look at this. Last time, I think we stopped here with the women and children standing in a circle. And so we are moving forward from 768. I'm going to start you at 771 with the Corrente, and we're going to go down here. I think you guys got these markups in the class, so let's hope. Oh, this game always causes problems. Ignore that. All right, let's see. Well, as always, we're going to start with our verbs. This one's kind of tricky because there really aren't a lot of verbs. What we have here is the WISA. All right, and that is it. We're going to find, if you remember correctly, let me say, can I do this? Can I do it this way? Let me try that. Okay. That Aeneas was running through the city looking for his wife Creusa. We see her name here at the end of the line for the first time, so he's going to find her. But there's a lot of action happening here. Let's go back up to the Corrente and the Ruenti. I don't know if you guys recognize these, but hopefully the NT is giving you a clue that these are present participles. If you remember, present participles, right? You take the present stem from the second principal part, you add NS, and then you add NTIS. Remember the third declension endings. Amanti, Amantem, Amante is the singular. So you have your blank IS, IEME. Notice here the I is in fact the dative. So when you see an NTI like this on the end of a word, it is in fact dative. And this is going to look a little bit weird. All right, but it does sort of pull together if we look ahead and we see the mihi. Guys, mihi can only be dative. And so we know that these adjectives, because that's what a present participle is, it's an adjective, it just means verbing. All right, they're going to be going with this mihi down here to me. Dative can have a lot of different rules. I know that we've always taught it as a sort of an indirect statement or an indirect object, I'm sorry, and it still is. But you can also have a dative of, oh my gosh, possession. Sorry, forgot possession for a second. Dative of possession. You can also have a dative that works with verbs of motion, as we're going to see. Also, something can happen or appear to someone, and that's what we're going to see here too. Let's look at this. So things are going to get a little dodgy here. This tectus, if you scan the line, you're going to learn that it's a long IS, and because it means roofs, it should, I've always told you guys, if it's a thing, and it is in the long IS and it doesn't have a pulse, that it's going to be an ablative. Oh, wow, that's a little bit more like a witch's hat than a triangle, but you guys can see that, so we're good. Again, if you scan sine fine here, well, you don't really need to scan it, but you should be able to find sine is a preposition. Okay, so that's a prepositional phrase. Urbis. Now here's the trick. If you scan Urbis, you're going to see that it's a long IS, okay? Because the I is followed by two S's. So it's long by position. Here's the trick. You guys need to know this. And this is just a word I've got to put in your vocab list. Urbs, Urbis, okay? It's feminine. And hopefully you remember that the IS tells you that it's third declension. But because this is the dictionary entry and because IS is the second part of the noun, it has to be genitive. So this one kind of breaks the rules of scansion. Well, it doesn't break the rules of scansion. It was just such a common word that the Romans knew that if it was an IS, it had to be genitive. And that would be a good one for you guys just to remember as well. Speaking of genitives, things that might help you out, if you remember Latin 2 with Mr. Saltz, he taught you guys very clearly the IUS here was the genitive of the pronomial declension. Pronomial, whatever, it's a pronouns. So anytime you have an IUS in pronouns, whether it's huius, quius, ipsius, whatever, it's in the genitive. So that IUS can frequently be a genitive ending, not to be confused with just the US of the nominative singular. All right. Let's see, anything else? Ooh, ante oculos is a good one. All right, we've got our nice little prepositional phrase there, ante. Okay, if we look at the okolos with the os, that's accusative plural. Okay, and it has to be accusative plural, so it can't be anything else. Let me see if I zoom in, see if I can get this focus to go a little better. All right, let's look at the words that I haven't gotten to. So infilex here on the first or on the second line, it ends in X. And remember that words that end in L and R and S and X are very frequently nominative. Infilex, in fact, is. And simulacrum, with the you kind of have to be careful, but I think I told you guys that simulacrum is a Latin word that means ghost or image. It is in fact neuter. So in this case, it is nominative. And then umbra here, meaning shadow, or again, ghost, is also in the nominative. And of course, who is this unlucky shadow and ghost of? We've got the genitive here, and we're going to have Creusa over here. She's going to be genitive as well. Remember, despite the many arguments that you guys have had, generally we do not pluralize people. So because she's feminine and it ends in AE, you can have either a dative or a genitive. And it makes more sense to say the shadow of Creusa than the shadow to Creusa here. So it's probably genitive. All right, let's look here. We have yet a third word to mean ghost. We have simulacrum, umbra, and imago. That sounds like a tricolon to me. And then major is the irregular comparative, okay, of Magnus. So Magnus, Major, Maximus, if you guys remember that. Big, bigger, biggest. You get major from this. This is actually one of those consonantal I's. It's actually a J. And you only know that really from the what am I trying to say? The Hudalali derivative major. Look at me go. All right, so then if you scan the lines, you know that you're gonna have that. You're gonna have short, short, long there. And what you're going to discover is that the A here is in fact long. And because it's long A, we can make it ablative. Okay. So that takes you through these lines with the markups. And then I'm going to come back and I'm going to walk you through because I know it can be a little tricky with all these datives in here and just one verb down here. And I think what we're going to see is Aeneas sort of running through the city searching for his wife. All right. Let's end this.